Helps if you actually wear a microphone. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, so I'm probably going to be quieter than I normally am. Apology for the deleted streams. I wasn't happy with my face being the only thing in them. It was meant to be gaming footage. It's meant to explain things, and so explaining things on screen in menus when you're not showing menus is kind of awkward. So yeah, thank you for joining me, everybody. Thank you for putting up with the trouble. This mine was started about 3 to 4 hours of streaming ago, but due to the capture problem, which I'm not sure what went on with, but it appears to be working this time, so we'll give it a go. Okay, so I've got the manufacture wood planks mission going on there. Have a quick little look-see at that, see how long it's going to take. Okay. So yeah, if you're wondering why I'm still up gaming at 2 a.m, I pretty much am an insomniac. A lot of stressful things have happened recently. I don't like my dreams anymore. So yeah, something to do with destruction of all my dreams, but still. I have a dream. I do have a dream. But it's not one for sleep time. It's one for awake time. I will have a big mine in the side of this hill that looks like a quarry. But I have no ideas about what to do in this map, really. I'm just here digging and mining for the sake of it at the moment. So if anyone's got any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. That would be great. So, okay, previous videos, someone mentioned how do you build your hoppers. Here's an example. Normally this hopper would be another block down and this would have vertical sides. Or these slopes would be another block down. As you can see, there's a gap here. Haven't done it here yet. Going to be hitting the hill with an excavator fairly soon. So yeah. I'm cutting trees. 45, there we go. I don't really need to run through the quests, but you may as well, right? That big pile of wooden bits will be handy for more flooring, which and the decorative stuff. The wooden roofs look nice. Concrete's got its place, but it's nicer in wood in some ways. Renewable, etc., etc. There we go. That's better. Let's have a quick look at the inventory. And no map, maybe. There it is. To be fair, I don't even need the XP, so for some reason when I reset the company, it didn't reset my XP, so it's still a 70, which is interesting. Might have to reset the entire thing. I don't really want to though. I've got 125 million stashed in the company, so handy for if you need equipment. Yeah, I remember. In the last video capture, I tried to demonstrate GPS, but unfortunately the screen only captured my face. So let's try this again. I've bought the GPS by purchasing it in the shop. So press P, go to vehicles, equipment, scroll down, categories GPS. There's the GPS. You buy that, it will go into your inventory or your toolbar. So either in here or on the bottom of the screen. Jump into a vehicle, press the inventory, go to equipment, and drag the GPS across and drop it in an empty slot. And that will fit the GPS to your vehicle, as you can see from the screen in the bottom left corner. So if I back up a little, put the bucket down to the height. The bucket height sets the height of the GPS. So wherever you want your bucket to be on the GPS, I would like mine level. And it normally cuts a little bit deeper than where you set it. So that's fairly level on where I want it. Now press the inventory to bring it up, bring up your mouse pointer, go to the set 0 button down here and set 0. And that zeroes the GPS to the position that you're in. So now as I raise the bucket, you can see that red line on the left dropping away and the blue line there. They represent your set level and show you whether you are higher or lower. The coordinates are shown in the middle there, which is kind of handy. The game now has coordinate map system and north, south, east, west marked onto the screen, which is a very good quality of life bonus. You'll see the red bar that's going into overload. When it gets up into that overload, if you literally tilt it full back and take your finger off the mouse button, it tends to just stay overloaded. That's the trick to that. So if you're wondering why you're having problems when digging, that's why. And I found the trick to getting those full loads is just to make sure you're going far enough and deep enough, as it were. So like here, tilt back, lock, and you'll see I'm not getting a full load because I didn't get enough in the bucket. If I go in there, tilt back, take my finger off, job done. So you got to have enough above the bucket to drop in to do the overload thing, by the looks of things. Not really that important, but with what I'm doing at the moment, going backwards and forwards, it's kind of important to have a full bucket every time for efficiency reasons, game time gaming, that kind of thing. So yeah. Since efficiency in mining games like this, it's volume per hour, same as it is in real life. So for an hour's gaming, how much progress can I make in the game? You know, that's the equation we're all pulling when we play these games. In the case of Out of Ore, that ratio isn't actually too bad. But when you start playing other simulation games, we all know the mining game that was branded by Discovery Channel and has been renamed and relaunched recently. It's a nice game, but the amount of time it takes to play is unreal. Likewise, Space Engineers and Railroads Online. And I'm naming those games because they're not the same as Out of Ore. I'm not sure how I stand in life. I'm part of a group that tests the game. When I download the test copy, for filming purposes, I've got to stay in the public beta. I don't know where that came from, but there we go. Anyway, it makes it a bit awkward. In an earlier stream, I nearly slipped up and gave away something. So yeah, keep watching the streams and you might get information on upcoming stuff in the game. Who knows? Interesting one. Let's see who I get. So yeah, I've organised a new folder for my out of all footage for the streams in a different folder, so they're easy to find for everybody. I may well do some more tutorial related short streams that are scheduled at some point if people want to get involved and ask questions. Drop me a message in the comments or drop me a message on YouTube. I am Mr. JP. I meant to put a Discord link in the description for this one, so I will edit that shortly and get that in there because I'd quite like to expand my Discord. That'd be kind of cool. Get some people in, get them talking about the game, some independent feedback in a forum where you don't really have to worry about devs or the general. Let's just say in my Discord, I'm not going to judge you for your opinions or your attitudes, as long as you keep it polite and impersonal. You can get away with everything. Staying on the gaming subject helps, but we do have general channels, and there are channels for posting photos from your games. So I also have some general, shall we say, general posting channel. There is a term for that is publicly well known. We all know the term. So yeah, come along, have some fun, get involved. Life gives you back what you get out of it, I have found, even though I'm not very good at living life. So yeah, hope that camera's lined up still. I keep leaning around. I'm trying to free up the back injury that I have. I'm sat on the floor, and people may think that sitting on the floor is bad for your back or your bum or something like that, and they're probably right. However, sitting in a chair and gaming with my hands in front of me on a desk is too much strain on the injury in my chest and my back. So sitting like this with the keyboard close to me means I can game for a bit longer. A year ago, I couldn't game for more than 45 minutes, but I appear to be able to do like 2 hours now, as long as I take it gently and the game's not too intense. Out of Ore, I can play for a while. Railroads Online, I can play for a while. Space Engineers, I can play for a while. 7 Days to Die, about an hour and a half, tops, maybe 45 minutes. Anything that's busy and active and high adrenaline. High adrenaline is bad, but this is good, nice and relaxed. So we got some more coal in, get some more cash together. I'm after that big old loader or something. We'll see. Should really find out if this is. Oh yeah, I did. This is actually coal. So maybe I've been spoilt in the UK, but in the UK, the coal I've seen is not grey; it's black. But there we go. There might be other coal fields in the UK that are grey, but everything I saw in Wales was the same colour as a mine shaft with no lights on it. It was so dark and so rich in the coloration. It's like it ate the light, and yet was still shiny and reflective. I believe it was anthracite steam coal, and it's the mine I was in is now a museum. Ironically, you can go down it. Worth a visit. Definitely worth a visit. If you're ever in Wales, get down to, I believe it's called the Steam and Heritage Museum or whatever, but when I went down it was called Big Pit. So yeah, interesting bit of history. Local area around it's very interesting. Those who have a dark attitude or a dark interest in disasters will know the area, because it's an area where there was a major collapse of a what you might call a tailings pile, and that great big heap of mining waste went straight through the town in an avalanche. The place was called Aberfan, and it was horrendous. So yeah, mining disasters have been happening for a while. It's not just tailings dams that collapse. Sometimes great big mountain of tailings can collapse when it rains. Luckily, Out of Ore doesn't have too much of a tailings problem. You just stick it through one of these sales boxes, which is kind of handy. Incidentally, if the stream drops out unexpectedly or just stops, my local area is having some internet trouble. And development games do just crash. So if the game crashes, I'm not sure what's going to happen. The reason for the deleted streams is because the two Space Engineers streams showed nothing of what I was actually doing except my face. And the last stream of Out of Ore was exactly the same thing. So I'm hoping this time around that we have an improvement in the situation. Maybe. We shall see. Just check something over. Yeah, it appears to all still be working, so go with it. But if it doesn't work, it's getting deleted again. If I wanted just my face there, I'd be an actor. And acting might not be a bad idea. I can no longer do anything really physical. But it's a long road, and I'm a bit old. Though Alan Rickman made it with his first role at 40, I suppose. But that was an era where you could get away with it, and he did spend a lot of time classically acting first. Do love a bit of Alan Rickman. Everyone remembers him as the bad guy in Die Hard, but his performance as the Sheriff of Nottingham in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves will go down as pretty unique. It was hilarious. If you fail, I will rip your heart out with a spoon. Why a spoon, cousin? 'Cause it'll hurt more. Love it every time. Just the energy put into the role. It's hilarious. Nearly as good as Hands in... But no, the pinnacle comes in Dogma for Alan Rickman, in my opinion. Like, classic Shakespearean actor. Can't take that away from him, but yeah, Dogma was where it was at. He excelled himself on that one. Man, fuel use is huge. I thought my Land Rover was bad. To give you an idea, my old Land Rover had a fuel leak. It meant that it was pouring nearly as much fuel as it was using out the bottom of the engine bay at the time. When I discovered that, I realised that, yeah, consumption of litres per mile is not good. Getting to the point on this bit of mining where I'm going to have to make a choice. Extend the mine forward, extend the hopper line in, or... Yeah. It's alright looking at the terrain under my floor and thinking, can I get rid of those trees by bulldozing? Maybe. I might go under there and just hand dig them out in a minute. In fact, yeah, I'm going to do that right now because they're really annoying me. Shouldn't be. I shouldn't let these small things get to me, but probably better off getting worked up about stuff in computer games than the stuff that's happening in my country right now. That's for sure. There we go. Okay, that works. We can go with it. Does it work on these little things? Looks like it will. There we go. Let's concentrate on the ones that are sticking through and annoying me here. This is epically slow as a method. Absolutely epically slow. There's got to be something better than this for clearing these. Well, doesn't look like it in the hand tools anyway. Give it a go again. Well, that one went. But these skinny waif things just don't want to go. Maybe it has to turn to brown and yeah, they have to go a certain distance. Like that. Lots of stuff in the news at the moment about crazy people who do these mass killings. One of them in the UK recently changed his plea from not guilty to guilty, but considering you were caught red-handed at the site, obviously that not guilty plea was some kind of mental health disorder, because eventually he's changed it to guilty. I'm guessing someone explained that if you claim you're not guilty and it's proven you are, you get a much harsher sentence. Hate to tell the guy. But you'll be going in on the mental health one, so there's a good chance that even after your sentence is served, you won't be getting out again. But that's assuming that life is freaking fair. Yeah, so these bits of plant aren't working for me at all. I suppose if there was any fairness in life, these nutcases who do these slaughters would get actually grabbed by someone in prison. And instead of just, gently sexually attacked, perhaps they should actually do the world a favour and get rid of them. But hey, that's the death penalty, and that's got a lot of complicated stuff involved around the edge. But it would help, because in this country right now, they're cutting all the assistance that my country is known for, and all of the work that has been done in our society to improve it and make it better and look after the vulnerable is being undone because we don't have enough money. Why don't we have enough money? Well, locking up terrorists instead of shooting them, because that's how you get rid of a really bad problem. You kill it off. Most pests get killed off, whether you're talking about the countryside, whether you're talking about people who are a little bit nutty. In the grand scheme of things, someone goes into somewhere, starts killing off defenseless children, for example. I honestly believe if it is possible that we need to change the laws so that defending yourself to the point of lethality against someone like that isn't a crime. In most cases in the UK, if you raise your hand to defend yourself, it's you end up in as much trouble as the person that you were fighting, effectively. It's just ridiculous. It needs to change. But hey, we're mining, we're digging. And what am I going to do in this? I mean, I've got 1,600 hours in the game. Quite a few of those were test hours, so testing out the game for the developer. I did a lot of that. Got burned out, had to take a break, hence why I haven't done anything in the way of YouTube for the last year or so. That was interesting. Is that a sign of a dodginess? Yeah, using loader as bulldozer probably not recommended, but hey. Shouldn't have dug those silly holes by hand. They're what's messing me up. My vehicle keeps falling in them. Okay. Gotta love a bit of off-road work. That one's one that'll stick through. Huh? Oh, I see. No longer destroys plants. Fine, I'll dig it out then. Same as any plant I can't destroy. Okay, you won't die, I'll dig you out. I'm not the big gardening type. My idea of gardening is to either cut it out, dig it out, or burn it. So yeah, since I'm allergic to veg, then you can understand why I'm not that keen on gardening. Since all of the chemicals that plants produce make me ill. But not all, but a specific group called salicylates, and they are evil. They are in everything, and the damage they do to the human body is multispectrum. So yeah, this is construction. Thank you. And your friends too. They all need to go home on the same wagon they came in on. That applies to certain other thing in the UK right now as well. If we can't afford to look after our own who were born here and have lived a life here and have paid taxes all their lives, with help with energy costs that shouldn't be at the height they are, why the hell are we putting people who aren't from this country up in freaking hotels? For all you Americans out there, Donald Trump gets inaugurated. Is it today or tomorrow? I'm not sure what the time difference is. 8 hours. Might be tomorrow. In some ways, I do wish he was replacing Keir Starmer. At least Donald Trump has got a handle on the realities of the situation from a business model. He's a lot of things, but I don't think he'd be allowing what's happening in this country right now. We shall see. Don't get me wrong, I'm kind of not keen on the guy. The way he's treated certain parts of my country has been roughshod in some ways. However, that's business. I'm not keen on business, but I understand why they do the things they do. Don't ask myself, why companies get sold off or why industry in the UK is dead. It's quite simple. Industry in the UK is dead due to rising energy costs and the rising cost of manpower. That's why everything's made in China. Brings the price per unit down. Doesn't make for a good feeling in the population, though. Knowing that you're too expensive for people to bring work into the country. It all goes abroad. Instead, we have to import it and pay more money. And this is better for our country in the long run? I think not. We're just hemorrhaging money to other countries that do not have our best interests at heart. They do not look after the environment. Things need to change. A reduction in energy costs in the UK would help heavy industry for a start. But still, there we go. Guess that's what happens when science dies. And the science of things says you cannot use a pickaxe for a concrete slab. Okay, all right, that's that looking a bit better. get that in there. If only I could go across to France and hand out some leaflets about the truth of life here. You know, once you become naturalised and you're no longer a foreigner we have to impress. It doesn't take long to sort of beat this game on the normal mode. With only 100,000, it's a lot more challenging. At the same time, you just buy a smaller machine. This is one of the relatively small machines, by the way. But I don't have the processing power to deal with a big one right now, so... When I say processing power, the setup I've got over there is in no way capable of handling the speed that large bucketfuls of material come on in at. So fuel. Always makes me laugh when they talk about electric cars being more friendly on the environment. You got to remember that like 1,000 tons of ore that has to be dug to get enough lithium for a single battery. Even though some lithium mines work on water. There's lithium-rich rock, and they spread water all over it, and the lithium goes into the water, and they just like it's like sluice mining. Or they send diggers in and dig the material out. There's a few ways they do it. Likewise, mining salt for the roads is done in a similar way. But yeah, once the water or the slurry mix is extracted from that, it's treated with acids and a few other things. Since lithium's a pretty reactive metal, and it's probably only found as an ore or lithium oxide, I'm not really sure. But it's not just the lithium, it's the neodymium for the magnets in the motors. I can't think of a more expensive device to build in some ways. It's like someone's gone, here's the most unreliable piece of tech we can build. Let's promote it. Yeah, that's a good idea. You want environmentally friendly transport? The secret's in hydrogen. And it's not because it's a free energy resource or the next source of great energy. What hydrogen and oxygen split from water are is a way of transferring energy. And that hydrogen can then be piped wherever you like, mixed with air and burnt. You don't even have to transport the oxygen side of it. The oxygen becomes a useful byproduct. There are a lot of processes that require pure oxygen. Sometimes wonder if that's the reason that we don't have any sort of metalwork smelting going on in the UK anymore, is because the energy costs and the cost in raw materials. Perhaps we don't have the ability to produce large amounts of gas anymore. I know we can't produce enough CO2 in the summer. Fertilizer plants shut down for maintenance. However, in their great wisdom, someone fitted a desalination plant on the Thames to provide fresh water. Just one problem. It requires CO2 to run, and there's a shortage of that in the driest point of the year. Smart move, water board. Smart move. So you now have a multi-million pound or even billion-pound facility that only works at certain times of the year and when the tide's in a certain place, so the salinity is correct. Okay. Starting to look to me like you should have just put in a big fire with a can of water above it and then condense what you boil off. If you're really clever, you make your water condenser your power station. So you boil water out the river, you condense it after you've used it through the turbine, and you get fresh water. So instead of recycling your water, you extract some of it for drinking water and put the rest back round the cycle to heat up the incoming water to increase your efficiency. You combine two industries into one and it becomes more efficient. But hey, and if someone comes out and does that in the next year, I'm going to have them for stealing my idea because I said it first. It's here on YouTube. This stream is staying. Assuming it's got any game footage, of course. Excuse me, coughing and spluttering. Since I've reduced my horrible, dirty smoking habit down to one every 3 hours instead of one an hour, yeah, coughing up a lot of gunk. Funny thing is, it's no different to the normal stuff that I cough up. Hasn't gone brown, never has. Like, I'm sure some of the horror stories you hear from smoking aren't necessarily just to do with smoking, or those people sit in a passively laden environment. I go outside, so it's, fresh air in every time. Don't breathe the recycled smoke for hours, and I don't sleep in it. But when I had surgery for 13 hours, thanks to that doctor's mistake, the doctor who did the keyhole surgery said afterwards when I woke up, "I've seen your lungs." Oh, I'm a smoker. That's not good. Go on, give me the bad news then. Went, well, they're actually in pretty good condition for a smoker. They're cleaner than someone who's lived in London for 40 years. Oh. Okay, doc. The conversation got more shocking from then. He called what the first hospital did to me unnecessarily brutal battlefield medicine. Now, personally, I have no problem with battlefield medicine. In fact, in most emergencies, battlefield medicine is probably what you're going to get. I wasn't an emergency. I walked into A&E after 2 days of pneumothorax, which normally will stop you moving fairly quickly. I was suffering breathing difficulty at that point, but once I was on the oxygen, everything was okay. Turns out my left lung had fully collapsed and was taking my right lung with it. May even have moved my heart across. What they call a tension pneumothorax, but they thought it was just a standard pneumothorax. Anyway, when she went to drain it, she hit the main artery out of my heart and I died. Since I went in there not bleeding to death and I came out bleeding to death, that's the opposite of what a hospital is meant to do. I was stable until she did that. My long-term prognosis wouldn't have been any good, but I was stable. I was mentally health stable as well. I had a job, had everything. I hope I don't lose my temper in the near future. One, I'll probably pop the artery in my chest and be no more. But two, whoever I lose my temper on is probably going to get years worth of repressed anger and angst. It'll be terrible. Worst part, it'll probably be something stupid and pointless like a parking argument. I've had one of those in my life. I hate women. Sorry, lady gamers. But the doctor who injured me was a woman. Since then, I have been waiting for a woman in a profession to show me she's actually good at her job. The fact of the matter is that in relationships, I've never met a woman who was good at her job either. So yeah. And when I say that, I'm not talking about bedroom activity. I'm talking about, just not cheating on me. But yeah, the fact that 2 of those relationships, they cheated on me with the same guy. I don't really hold that against the second girl involved, but the first one, yeah, for sure. The second one was just young and influenceable and fell for his little dance. The fact that it was over within a couple of weeks, like all his relationships are, really upset me. But there we go. Can't say I didn't give him a chance. Scumbag. Still, I've forgiven him. I talked to him. Life hasn't treated him so well since that incident, so had to move up north And in the UK, that's bad because it's cold and it snows. Get a map. Check these quests out. Oh, wood sheets is it this time? Manufacture some wood sheets. Seems like there's a load of people in the world today who are good at manufacturing just sheets. As Keir Starmer put it, my father was a tool maker. Oh yes, he was definitely good at making tools, Sir Keir. Definitely good at making tools. I'm looking at the biggest one he ever made. Politicians. If they were any good at their jobs, they wouldn't be politicians. They'd have made their money somewhere else. I remember 2003. Might have been a little bit later. The death of Jean-Charles de Mendes in London. Turns out the guy wasn't that nice, but everyone thought he was, and media said he was. And next thing, everyone's up in arms about the fact the cops shot him and places rioting, Brixton's being burned, and a few other places. Amazing how often that happens. Seems to have set a pattern for various events since. Don't get it. You break the rules or you resist. When it's pretty clear you're being arrested, there is a good chance you're going to get hurt. That's just the fact of the matter. Most of the time, if you politely cooperate, you might not even get cuffed. And I say might not, it will depend on the vehicle you're being picked up in. At least in the UK. In the States, it doesn't matter what you do. The bloke that I saw in an article the other day, putting out a lithium battery fire in his own home. The cops were like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. I can't put out a fire on my own home. What the hell? Next thing, the cops are beating him up. Only in the US. Or, well, to be fair, actually, no, that's not true these days. The UK's had its fair share of incidents. And as for other places that have police forces that are more like mafia, yeah, probably happens there. So whilst the police may not be perfect in your country, it could be a lot worse. The bit I don't get is the obvious, ridiculous state of entitlement that some of these people go through. It's like, what? You obviously just did that, and now you're saying you didn't. Take responsibility for your actions. But a lot of people have problems with responsibility for their actions these days, have to find someone to blame, etc., etc. You could say the same thing about me. Only in my case, I very definitely basically got my life ruined by a doctor. I blame her. The fact that I haven't rebuilt my life is because I have been told that even raising my blood pressure physio. So what do you do? Like, you know, all your options are taken away from you. You can't fight to make a recovery without risking death. I'm in this mega catch-22, which is why I talk about it a lot. It just goes round and round. And if I were to indulge the rage I feel for longer than a few seconds, I start to get weird symptoms in my chest, so we won't be doing that too much. Permanent back pain, which just gets worse the moment I start using it. I used to lift weights heavier than me on a regular daily basis. I did it for 20 years in my trade. One visit to the NHS and they fucked my spine. I mean, really? And the worst part is it happened whilst I was unconscious. So it's probably when they moved me. Just goes to show all of these bariatric ambulances and all of the special treatment tables and stuff for these ultimately obese people, and yet they can't get a spinal board that fits me, skinny and 6'6". So you tell me what's going on with that. Always remember when the local fire crew came back from a call, and pretty much the carer's gone in to find the person dead, which is very sad. But what was worse, during that time, the gentleman had got so big that the fire brigade decided it was easier to remove the wall of the building than to try and get him out through the door. And yes, they needed heavy lift gear to get him out. They were winching him up a slope. Bloody ridiculous. But there we go. Guess that's why we have a ridiculous sugar tax in this country. All the food's full of pollutants that make it impossible for me to eat, and I'm slowly starving to death. These people on hunger strike don't know how lucky they've got it. At least that ends. The only way this will end is if farming gets its finger out, supermarkets disappear, we go back to eating whole foods. Whole foods being ones that you have to actually prep instead of getting out the freezer or the fridge or Tesco's or Sainsbury's. Why am I talking about food? Why am I so grumpy? It's because I'm hungry, probably. But yeah, so went through the GPS. Those wood sheets should be in progress. There we go. Just like that. Really must get round to doing some of this multiplayer. To be fair, my problem with multiplayer gaming is fairly similar to my problem with girlfriends. They disappear. But there is the fact that judging by what my mates have said, most people consider the games I play fairly boring, so they're probably right. Okay, getting there. 774,000. It's an essential tool, and I need it. There we go. You can spend a lot of time rolling around in the roller, by the way, or compactor, as it's called in this. Depends on where you're from. I suppose a compactor does the vibration thing, whereas rollers are just a roller. So get rid of some of these ridges from the bucket. I wonder if it still does the thing when you go along the edge of the tiles, it just digs. Let's have a look and see if this works out. Yeah, it's still doing it a little bit, but it's a lot better than it used to be. With the old ones in some of the old versions, you could do that and almost lose the roller in the hole. And when I say that, I'm talking about the front roll rather than the whole vehicle. But yeah, you can see that gap that opened up just there. I'll fill that in with a couple of bits of material in a minute. To be fair, why am I going along at that point? I need to go further back. And this is slow. but it's worth doing. It improves the speed you can sort of roll around with the wheel loaders, and it means that if you use an excavator, it doesn't rock and roll so much on small imperfections. But I have found that it's best to use a excavator from a flat surface. That may have changed. Been a while since I've done a lot of out of all gameplay. I mean, I played the public version today for 3 hours. Other than that, I've been messing with the sort of development version that's private. I'm looking forward to the next update that gets released and pushed to the public beta. That's going to be a good day. And I'm going to spend, whilst streaming, if I want to look at the public, the private one, I have to download it as a separate thing and switch modes. So it's either streaming or doing that, one or the other for me at the moment. But maybe if my life changes and I can get a second machine, perhaps I can do both. Oh, the dream. Even a second screen would be good. That way I can monitor the conversation on YouTube whilst playing, instead of having to hit the Windows key. Yeah. Ah, okay. Thought my camera had frozen up there. Sorry, giving it the old wobble head there. Just killing time. I've still got music stuck in my head from the other day that I can't get rid of. However, I did manage to identify it. The fact it's still stuck in my head is now just my head. Not sure what's going on in there. Really, I'm not sure what's going on in there right now. I used to read a lot of books. I haven't read a book since surgery. Since surgery, I have been asked by many people whether I've got ADHD, Asperger's, or what's the other one? Autism. To the point that the doctors are actually sent me to specialists in mental health for investigation. That recommendation was 2.5 years ago, and I'm still waiting. So if you're wondering why these nutcases go nuts and don't get caught by the medical people first, or have been reported and just left walking around on the streets, that's probably why. Be kind of nice, because if I'm not, that means I can prove that it was the surgery that's done it. But proof, difficult one, especially when the people you trust don't keep correct records. What do you do about that? Yeah, looking at how steep that drop off is, I'm going to park that by the fuel tank for the moment. Okay. First gear low isn't so good uphill in this thing. Still. I wonder if that works. Yeah, it does work. But it does leave the engine running. So if you tab between vehicles, always shut down your engine. But when you jump out, yeah. Okay, but a manual jump out will shut it down, which is good. Pick up some more paving. No. Try concrete. There we go. Now, I will remember when I end this stream to put the Discord down. That way, potentially, I'll be able to run a Discord chat whilst streaming. Not sure how that's going to work, or even if it will work. However, if it does, it'd be kind of handy. Can't be bothered. Too expensive. Instead, I shall put some more on over here. More on. Sums up the political leadership of this country right now. And sorry for being locked on politics. It's hard to explain, but we get bombarded by stuff in the news in this country, saturated levels. Most of us are dissatisfied with what's been happening in our country for the last few years. Politicians don't seem to care about the fact that the country doesn't agree with them, and it's going to get ugly very soon. I'll be impressed if this government survives another 6 to 8 months. And when I say survives, I'm thinking someone might actually just set fire to the building they're in. It could happen. It wouldn't be the first time in the UK that someone's tried to blow apart the government. We celebrated with fireworks on November the 5th. Yeah. Guy Fawkes did have the right idea. But yeah, when you look into that, the general story that's given about Guy Fawkes is a little bit flawed. It's got the general gist, but I'm pretty sure things were probably a little bit different downstairs. He never got the power to train a light, which means that it didn't go off, which means the government didn't get blown up. Probably because the basements were drenched, so damp that you couldn't strike a spark. Or the fuse wouldn't burn. Who knows? Been a few reasons that a few people have survived like that in politics. Sheer luck. Gotta love it. Bit like it was sheer luck that I landed on these 2 coal seams. I know that in out of ore, resources are fairly densely packed. But these 2 seams are really close together, and I'm sure there's a third one in the corner. There might even be another one underneath me just here. So yeah, this spot on the map's a fairly rich one. Ah, yeah, map. Okay, so this is the Scandinavia map. Mouse wheel works here to roll the blooming thing. That doesn't work in the test version. Can you hide this screen? The answer is no. Okay, so game start wise, you tend to start in the middle of this valley just here. Respawn points on top of this mountain. So that gives you an idea of where I am. It's going to be fun when I start overloading machinery. Places that just run. I bet that unloading an inventory screen for the hoppers is for when. I don't know. This isn't even present in the test version, but since when you go to the purchasing screen in production, you can see these in the public version. You'll see this conveyor power input here. And I believe there's a power section. No, not yet. Yeah, there is. There it is, further down. Cables, consumers, generators, and pylons. So at some point, obviously, we're either going to have to generate electricity on site somehow. The generator might require coal, for example, or wood. And that'll give you the power to power this production gear, which will equate to overhead. So I guess you can generate your own power or pay for it, maybe. I don't know which way the developers plan to go with that one. Did I see it in any of the podcasts or the Friday news? Yeah, the answer is no. I suppose on the bright side, if I'm streaming when I do have a medical emergency, everyone will know what happened. No one will have to announce it. It will be on the YouTube stream that's still running. So yeah, that'll be an entertaining one. It's kind of ironic. I don't really have many possessions. I'm not really too worried about my actual last will and testimony. But digitally, I should probably do something like write down my codes in a sealed envelope for my family to post on Facebook and stuff about what's happened. I've said it before in other streams. I'm not a very social person. I don't have many close friends, but I do know a lot of people. And those people were close in the past. It's just lifestyle and stuff. Life moves on. But if you pop your clogs, they probably want to know, just so they don't text you again. I can look at my own death now in such a funny way. Just before COVID hit and just before I took the vaccine, I was kind of wound up about my own death. Now I know why. I probably saw it coming. I was having bad dreams. That doctor matched the dreams that I had. In retrospect, if I'd recognised it at the time, I might have told her to piss off when she went to stick a needle through my chest. Because I've always had a problem with the idea of being impaled through like the torso, and I kept on having this dream of this dark-haired woman, but there was no real detail to her face, and just if you take sleeping tablets because you're having bad dreams, it's probably your subconscious telling you something you need to know. Don't ignore it. See if I can spread this out a little bit. Definitely the edge of the deposit there. It seems that way anyway. I might be wrong. There might be more under there by the looks of that. Probably excavator and drill time if I want to know what's under there, really. But We'll keep scraping. I'm realistically looking for stonework, so I can make my own concrete floors before I start construction. Interesting one. What happens if you go in from that angle? It does appear to... yeah, okay. Material does appear to roll down slopes now, so maybe I will be able to build some of my old hoppers. Gonna have to work on my stream titling. I'm gonna have to have objectives for what I'm gonna do in the stream, I think, and put that in the title. That'll probably help. Yeah. I'm welcome to suggestions as to how to run the channel, what you guys want to see, projects to do in this game, since it's a sandbox and my creativity is pretty low considering everything that's gone on. Couldn't tell you why my creativity is slow, like so low, but it's been a problem in a lot of things. Mining games, space engineers, and railroads online. Anything that involves building and creating has started to become a bit of a struggle. I don't know whether it's a lack of ideas or the fact that I haven't done anything really in the way of wholesome social activities that most humans do in 5 years. Yeah, I think it's 5 years. When did COVID start? 2020? Yeah, haven't been out since then. Not properly anyway. I went up to the pub a few times after the first lockdown. That was an error. Never mind. The question is, when I rebuild that processing machine, do I put one hopper in for processing and another hopper in for stuff I want to store for manufacturing? Or do I just build the machine with a gap in it that I put a thing on to extend it into a hopper for storage or a hopper for sale? Decisions. Just sort of curious about how far back this actually goes. Here I am YouTubing and gaming, doing it pretty much for fun. Just thinking about old that music artist Kate Nash, saying how she was doing the OnlyFans thing and it paid for her concert tour. I have female friends who are parents. They're in hard times. They have OnlyFans accounts. I don't have the money to have a look anyway. I have to wonder about the content. If anyone's got a viewpoint or reference point for this, please let me know, because how do you approach a female friend and your friendship on the subject of OnlyFans without essentially saying, I want to see you naked? Like, and it depends on the content, of course, because I'm sure that some of it's hair and beauty and stuff like that, rather than anything exotic or modelly. But judging from the photos that I've seen of certain people's accounts, it looks more like lingerie and modelly to me. But yeah, just makes you wonder if I was a lady with the kind of looks and builds genetically that I would have had, just judging by other family members. They're either tall and skinny or medium height and fairly generously built. When it comes to the female attributes, I'd probably make more money on OnlyFans as a girl in my family than I do or ever will on YouTube. Interesting one. The subject of monetization is a complicated one. Maybe I should make the stream subscriber only. I don't know, if they get more popular. Maybe I should do the occasional subscriber only stream. I would poll the subscribers, but one subscriber is the reason we're here. Playing out Ore. Send out a big thank you for helping me make that decision. And another big thank you to another friend of mine who said something that made me check the streams. And I realized that for some reason in my computer settings, it wasn't picking up the fact that I was playing a game and putting it into the stream. So it was just me talking for 2 hours. Hopefully in this stream that problem will be solved. Oops. That's the nice thing about a floor level hopper. If you go too far and fall in it, the vehicle can just pull itself out. If you go another level deeper, it can be a bit of a problem. You end up nose down in the hopper and stuff. I tend to use the railings around the edge. That helps. Turning the right way would be a good idea as well, but I'll remember that kind of thing in future. First, we need some flat land. Rather than build on flat land, I thought I'd dig it out. Error, Coco, error. Ah, the machine's textures are starting to dirty up. That's nice. Means it's working. All good. Oh, this is a nice chunk of coal. It goes out a long way. Yeah, this spot's good if you're a coal hunter. I was pulling that maneuver with the loader in another mining simulator. It just went over on its side. Luckily in that game, anything that rolls just gets reset, so it's not too bad. And I keep talking about food and I'm constantly hungry, but it's only because I'm not able to eat the chocolate I want to. Used to be a chocoholic. Managed to quit all the food I like really easily. Why can't I quit smoking? I would say it's because, the food was making me ill. It was hurting me. Therefore, it was easy to quit. I quit dating as well. Why? Because women kept hurting me. Smoking has definitely hurt me. The pneumothorax I suffered was to do with the vaccine and lifting a heavy weight at work whilst I had fluid in my chest, I think. There was no direct reason to blame smoking other than the fact that I'm a smoker. And the moment you say that, doctors just blame everything on it, which is erroneous science. However, if they had, would I have found it easier to quit? The answer is still probably no. And the reason of that is quite simple. If your recovery is limited to the point that you will never be able to do anything that you used to do, what's the point? What's the point of living any longer? The only reason to quit smoking is to improve your quality of life. So either to save money or for your health or a few other things. Same reason you do anything really that's hard. It's because it's worth it. And it was worth it before COVID, when I was self-employed in a physical job. The benefits of quitting would have actually made sense. These days, yay. I'll improve my health. I'll improve my life. I'll improve how long I live, which means I'll just be broke for longer until I die, suffering. That's the fact of the matter. I'll never own my own home now. I gotta stop thinking about this stuff. People, if you've got ways of occupying me that will stop me thinking this way, that would be great. Suggestions in the comments, please. I'm already making chainmail, which is a long, slow, laborious, boring task, and admittedly hours go by doing it. But if you're doing something just to kill the time, it's not exactly profitable. It's going to take me months to make a square meter of chainmail, and you can buy one for 100 quid. Hardly going to pay a mortgage, is it? Though would you even want to in this day and age? You buy a nice house, it's worth a certain amount of money. And then some developer decides to build a housing estate with a load of affordable housing on it right next door to you, and you just lost 50 grand. Pretty illogical, isn't it, right? I remember back in 2005, been in full-time work for 3 to 5 years at that point. I had some savings. I was thinking about buying a house, and then the economy crashed. Getting on the ladder with something small. Looked at my friends who had done that, and they were crying because they were paying a mortgage on an £80,000 property that was now only worth 60. Yet the mortgage hadn't changed. They were still going to have to pay back their money. Some of them could remortgage, but others couldn't, depending on their terms. Sounded all a bit shystery to me, like banking criminality. The whole situation was, in a way, banking criminality, since the American financial market offloaded toxic debts all over the place and caused basically a world economic crash. Hopefully we'll be avoiding that under the next president. We shall see. Good old Donald. Still, he didn't do that bad a job last time round. I mean, At least he can remember what he's saying in the middle of a press conference and doesn't just wander off. Yes. You see, I often wondered why the American presidential system seems to like older people. Yeah, when you think back, people who haven't got long to live. It's because you don't have to pay for the security bill afterwards for very long. That's my opinion. You look at how much security is going to cost this country for the MPs in the next however many years, especially our prime ministers. We had 3 in 1 year. That's 3 lots of security payments. They just trebled the bill. Aye. Of course, if they were any good at their job, they'd probably have to worry a lot less about being murdered after they're in office. Like Keir Starmer's doing all this stuff now, but what happens when he gets into an old people's home later on? Because there's old people's homes in the UK for actors. There must be one for ex-politicians. You couldn't lock them up with the actors because, like, actors are normal people when it comes to paying their taxes. They're probably just as annoyed with him as we are. That coal really goes a long way. I like it. This is going to make, like, long haul nearly doable. So yeah, that's going to be cool. By long wall, I tend to use one of the tunnelers as a cutting head for my long wall work. So as we go down into the hill, I'll start drifting into this seam, I guess, from the side, and then cut along it. I don't know, but this is really big for out of ore. It's quite continuous as well. I assume it's under me here. Let's see how far it goes this way. Way. A little bit of a wall ride for the loader there. So yeah, to rotate components, just hold down the right mouse button. Boof. Okay, I'm not sure what time in the morning it is now. Okay, 20 to 4 in the morning. I should really get some sleep or get some food. But hey. Going to be interesting when I close this stream down and see what YouTube does with it, because in the last streams I had everything set up apparently correctly, and when I actually looked at the video, I think the game screen was a little box in the corner and my cam was the main screen, which was no good. So this time round, it's displaying that the cam is the small screen and the game is the big screen, but it was doing that before, so we'll see how that goes. It's quite strange as well. I define myself as crazy and a little bit mentally unstable, but I've been talking to a few more people recently and I've got a feeling that I'm actually pretty well balanced. I guess if you sat on the fence about something, you can see both sides of the argument. Before you jump off the fence, because sitting on the fence forever won't get anything done. Looking at the big angle on the GPS going nuts. No, 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 no. No, oh. Bucket too high whilst driving. Bad. But probably definitely a sign that it's time for me to take a break. I wish I lived in Canada. Somewhere where smoking certain things was legal. The UK sucks on that subject. When our government doesn't listen, we've been asking for a referendum every year for quite a few years on that subject, and they won't even consider it. Even with a petition with over 1 million signatures, they wouldn't consider it, and that happened in the 90s. Makes you wonder why. Is it because if people smoke that, the Kool-Aid doesn't work anymore? You know, the subliminal messaging in the advertising? Who knows? I just know one thing. If the person who's responsible for it being illegal was in existence today and used the same kind of tactics he used to convince the government to make it legal, he would be convicted of fraud for saying things that are unsubstantiated in public. He would have been fact-checked to death and accused of racism. So, why are we still subscribing to a law that is based on a hate campaign by a newspaper baron who was only hating on the product mainly because it was a threat to his forestry industry investments that he'd just made that were in the face of a burgeoning hemp paper industry, probably going to lose him money. William Randolph Hearst, I hope you burn in hell and are still burning, scumbag. And your descendants. I hope they all have nasty urinary tract infections. I mean, there's a few other people who have promoted an awful lot of lies as well in history that I don't like as much as William Randolph Hearst, but William Randolph Hearst is definitely in the top 3. I appreciate Hitler more than him, and I don't like Hitler much. So, yeah. In fact, I'm not that keen on most comedians, but they all rate higher on my list of people I'd rather sit with than William Randolph Hearst. There is one. Horrible question. Dinner with William Randolph Hearst or dinner with Russell Brand? Answers in the comments. Which would you rather have dinner with? The dictator of 1920s newspaper baronism, William Randolph Hearst or Russell Brand? They're both the spawn of Satan, so there's no real argument on that one. I love the fuel empty gauge on this truck. It's like the fuel empty gauge on my Land Rover. It's got a nice large warning on it. You can drive for about on my old Defender style Land Rover when the warning came up because it had a voltage problem and the battery was low on the tank's indicator. I had about 150 miles left in the tank, which was kind of handy. If you always filled up when the light came on, you knew you were good, and you knew it was going to cost you a little less at the pump, which when I was a student was kind of handy. I'm going to fall off there at some point. Well, if nothing else, this stream is showing the actual time this game can take to get anywhere. But I suppose Split 2's already done that in the last few months. Someone I have got to know Either I've spread a lot of mud on the floor there, or that deposit is spreading out. We shall see. But I just broke the million, and I said I was going to take a break when I broke a million. One more, just one more bucketful. This is how it happens. This is how Monday turns into Tuesday, and Tuesday turns into Wednesday, and you realise you haven't slept because it's just one more bucket. Or just one more load of stuff delivered in the railway game, or I'll just raid one more base in Space Engineers, or I'll just polish this up, or I'll just do that. Always the way. In a certain other game, it's I'll just fill the wash plant and service it and wash it out for gold one more time. Just one more is a terrible thing. Possibly the reason. Just one more is possibly the reason that the human race drives itself to succeed. Famous line by oh, his name's just vanished. It was there a second ago. But the soldier in Hacksaw Ridge, the star of the show. What's the reason he got his Medal of Honor? Because he wanted just one more. One more guy saved. Drove himself to do stuff that was absolutely ridiculous on the battlefield to save life. Just one more. And that's the thing that drives humans. Just one more. Just one more. I want to live my life and fit my carpets and do my thing just one more time. I want to play airsoft one more time. That'd be kind of cool. Just to be able to go back down to the pitch with my old mates and have a game. Or even to be able to actually be awake long enough and be able to shout and help out on the pitch long enough to supervise a game again. That'd be good. Anything like that would be good. Just one more. Just one more. But yeah, this mine needs tidying up and moving. Job for the next stream. It will be interesting to see whether the clients see that or not. I really must get some multiplayer gaming together. I suppose if I make this game public, I could Discord the passcode or put it in a subscriber only video, and that means that only subscribers could come into the game. Don't know, let me know your feelings on that one. And this is what I mean about overloading the processors. You can see how long that ran for after I emptied the bucket. If I then put two more of these splitters in, two more of those splitters in, one there, one on the end of it, with only one sorting drum, it's going to get overloaded real fast. Really fast. But we shall see. Test for the new processing system. Okay, well. Does look like that screen has locked up. Still, since there's no one in the stream at the moment,